Welcome to the Cheat Code Corner podcast, where we hit you with the cheat codes to help you advance in the areas that you care about. I'm your host, DC, and today we have a very dope guest today. We got Joey Barroso, my man, such a good friend of mine. What's good, homie?
What's good, Marty? How are you?
Doing very well, man. Thanks for hopping on the call today. Not even on the call, on the podcast today. So, Joey, you got to tell me, I got to tell you, the part of the reason why I wanted you on the podcast is because, I've seen how you've grown over time. I think what you're doing is very interesting. And I think a lot of people are, us 10, 15 years ago, it would have been helpful if we understood what you were doing and how you get into it. So from what I understand, right, and I need some clarification here, you're kind of like Tommy in Martin, where it's like, what does this dude do? So you work for NBCUniversal. Mm-hmm. Right now, the exact role is tech associate, but you're in technical operations.
Yes.
Can you explain exactly what for NBC do you work for, and exactly what does that mean?
Sure. It's very convoluted, but when you got a lot of money, that happens. But so NBC used to be owned by like a bunch of different companies, but Comcast bought it. So NBCUniversal is the news arm of Comcast.
Okay.
So that's what they bought it maybe like 10 or 15 years ago now. And so pretty much for the most part, I work for NBCUniversal, but it's NBC News and MSNBC are the two major outlets that I work for. But I also do certain things for NBC Sports. So I usually do the Olympics, and that's under that umbrella. So that's the thing. It's such a big company that there's these different departments, but it's all under the same big umbrella. Yeah. So you can move around doing that. So but going back, so like my actual title is tech associate, but that is very wide ranging at NBC because you can do a variety of different things. So when I first started, I did prompter, which is like the first thing everyone learns when you first get on. That's like what the anchors read when they're on air. So like I did prompter, camera, stage managing, utility, robotic cameras. Like pretty much anything under the sun that can be on set that you can see on air as someone who's home, like a viewer, mm-hmm. I do all of it. I've done a facet of that job at one point in my 12-year career.
So does that, and that's kind of interesting. So there was two things you talked about. So number one, so when you get into NBCUniversal, that mm-hmm. means that they have so many different properties that you can hop around in depending on your skill set, or is that?
Depending on some of them are a little just to give you an example, they own USA, they own Bravo, they own so many different things that if you really want to get it, you have to get your foot in the door, and then you can maybe start applying to these jobs depending on what you're really interested in. I used to work with someone who now I think he's a producer, he was a camera guy with me, and now I believe he works on the Andy Cohen show, that late night show that he does.
Yeah. And
it was just that only would have happened that he worked at NBC, worked on one of the reality shows that Andy Cohen was on, and then he was able to get that job. Okay. So it creates this giant community that if you know where to look, you can get a leg in, and then you can talk to somebody.
Yeah. Well, and it's so funny you should bring that up. I find a lot of organizations end up like that. It's oh yeah, once you get in,
yeah,
and exactly. There's all this well, but how, the question becomes, and I'm going to go to that, is mm-hmm. fiercely competitive. You know what I mean? Fiercely competitive.
Very much so.
So the question becomes, I want to know, how does someone even able to get in? That's number one. And then we want to know the route that you took, because tech associate, because, obviously everyone wants to talk about being on air and this and that. But what people don't realize is where the bread and consistency and demand is in the technical aspect. Yeah. So how did you get in? Did you major in broadcast or?
Yeah, I majored in communications, and there's but my main focus initially was editing. So I was very big into editing because initially what I wanted to do was I wanted to do movies. I wanted to make my own content. So directing, I think, was something I was leaning towards, even though I know that's extremely difficult to do at a movie level. But that was something I was very passionate about. I knew I had good ideas, and I knew how to shoot it and put it together. I can edit it, put it together. But then I got to college, and then I realized that if I really wanted to do that, I had to go to California. And I didn't want to leave the Northeast for that. I definitely didn't want to leave New Jersey or New York area.
Yeah.
So then I started to expand a little bit, and then I started getting into broadcasting because we had something at FDU where we shot our own news. So we had like our own little news desk, and we had these cameras where we can like go shoot stories. Like we would like cover the basketball team or interview the volleyball team and do these shorts. And like, I think they were maybe like 10 minutes long. And then we would like give the news of the day at school and then do our little interview that we did with the team. And that would be the broadcast. So we were able to do this in a day. And I just remember being like so excited about like creating something that I did. I scripted out, blocked, shot, and then edited. And I was just like, this is amazing. This is like the most organic thing you can possibly do. Like there's, you know, like someone just gave me a camera and I just created this. So I just remember when that hit, I was just like, this is all I want to do.
Yeah.
And then it just started to expand from there.
So it kind of, it's so interesting because it, you know, you started off by saying, hey, you know, like I wanted to do films and create content, right? And really, you know, like wanting to do that, there's passion behind that. But if you look at what you just mentioned, it's feeding a lot of what you wanted to do anyway. Like when you transition to that, yeah, it's maybe not entertainment in per se, but it's still news, it's still content. You're still controlling and putting out a product and having, you know, and filming and influencing that. So then what happened? That was like the training, that was like the internship. And then how did you make that jump? Like what happened next?
So the jump started coming when we were graduating in 2006 or 7. Because I think I stayed an extra year for more editing. I wanted to get the certificate in editing for Avid. That pretty much, if you have this certificate at that point in time, every news industry used this. So like all the stuff that you see, like all like the little shorts and B-roll and stuff, there's somebody editing that and they're dumping it into the newscast for the producers. Mm-hmm. So I knew if I had this, I had an advantage over anyone. And if people want to do editing now, there's different variations of it now. But if you have the base, if someone sees your resume and sees that you're edit and you use their system, you're immediately at the top of the list.
Okay, all right. Do you think
that's something if you're interested in editing, it's a very hard certificate to get, but when you have it, is that
kind of like equivalent to maybe like, you know, people that, it's not a great example, but masters in Excel. Like if someone is a master Excel, you will get hired.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because everyone needs somebody who's not just good at Excel, great at Excel.
Exactly. Especially if you're doing a lot of spreadsheets or like if you're working at a giant company and you're trying to put all this content together. Yeah, you need that.
You need that. Okay. All right. Yeah. So it sounds like, you know, you found somewhat of a lane that you were interested in. Mm-hmm. Then you established credibility by getting this Avid background and then having the experience you had. So that positioned you in a unique way. Were you doing that with purpose? Like, did you look at it and say, okay, well, I know I want to get into this news stuff or whatever. And then said, yeah, Avid, that's where it's at. Or did you you peep that?
I knew it would just like, it would help. Like, because again, like knowing coming out of college, you just know there's hundreds of thousands of kids coming out of college, not all trying to do what I'm doing, but you just know it's thousands of kids are going to be probably applying for the same exact job. Especially being in New York City, like anyone who works in TV knows you got to come here if you want to work at a major company. I graduated college, don't have a job. I'm working like these random Craigslist jobs, like working at like vacuuming rugs for like these like condo communities in Edgewater. No joke, like seriously. So I'm doing that, and I have this trip to Italy that I'm like trying to save money for to go on. And then in the middle of it, it was a 6-week gig that I had shampooing and cleaning rugs in condos in Edgewater. Not lying to you, seriously. In the middle of that, I get a phone call, and it's this woman from CNBC that said, "Oh, this is Joey Barroso. This is CNBC. We would like you to come in for an interview." And I laughed. I'm like, sure. And I hung up the phone because the fact that she said she saw my resume on Monster.com 6 months earlier. And now it was just like, this is a joke. Like, get out of here. So I no joke, hung up on her. And I actually still work with this woman. So like every time I see her, she like brings it up and like laughs at me. And then she called me back and then she's like, no, I'm being very serious. This is like, this is CNBC. We want you to come in. We read your resume on Monster.com. And I was just so mortified that I responded that way. And I was just, and then I went in for the interview. And then and I think maybe like 2 days later, I got the job. And then, but in the middle of that, I have a 3-week trip to Italy. So then I'm thinking, even though like they're interested in me, they're not gonna. I tell her that she's like, I just want to be as honest as possible. We're going to hire you, and you can start the day after you come back from your Italy trip. And I was just, I was like over the moon.
Yeah,
and then,
that's crazy.
It was amazing.
You know what's funny what's interesting about that story? I didn't even know that, but it was. there's like an inside joke between you and her too now. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
And
yeah.
like it was also probably kind of funny to her too, right? You know what I mean? Because like she probably realized how thrilled you would have been, but like it was out of your mind, right? Like, so if Barack Obama calls me, I'm like, all right, ha ha ha, very funny, Lamar. Or like somebody making a joke, be like,
sure.
all right,
I'm in the middle of shampooing rugs out here. You calling me? Like,
yeah. Okay.
Like,
did you see her on the interview?
Yeah, she was the one that interviewed me.
Did she needle you when she saw you?
Of course she did. She just was like, she made a comment, and honestly, I just thought I didn't have a chance after that. Like, it was just like, oh, he's just like a bit of a clown or something, or you can't take him seriously. But then when I went on the interview, like a part of it was like talking to her, and then she put me on to somebody who was already doing the position, and then she started showing me around, this girl Cassandra, and then I think she noticed that I knew everything that she was doing because of the stuff that I did at school. So it was just like, oh, he like, and obviously she liked me. Like, we got along well. So that's obviously a part of it. But it was just like, I think she was just like, oh, he'll fit right in, kind of.
Yeah. Man, that's such a, you don't really hear those stories too often where actually like somebody's direct experience really like in school really puts them in the best position to get the next job, unless obviously you get into some type of trainer, like a finance trainer program or something where they just kind of feed, you know what I mean, like
exactly, it's like a pipeline kind of thing.
Like that's different though. That's different. You know what I mean, like when you're in the pipeline already, that starts early, but when you're so that's a crazy story, man. So I love it. Then you made yourself the I guess when you got the job, then so you got the job. You managed to break into NBCUniversal, right? No, sorry.
Was it NBCUniversal?
Oh, it was okay. You managed to break in, right? At the bottom, but broke in nonetheless.
Yeah.
Right. Did you? Because you're in technical operations. Did you know that was going to be the track? The track.
Not necessarily, because it was like for when I first started with that job, that was like a producing job. So I was working on, so CNBC is like business forward. So everything is business news. So I would do these like little segments that they would have. It would be like a minute, like every hour, or maybe it was like a minute an hour, or like 30 seconds each half hour. And it would be like these like sponsored little hits where it would be like, say they're like doing the weather, and then it'd be like a banner for like TD Bank and like what they offer. And it would be like, so I would like show them what it would look like. They would talk about like pricing, how much they want to spend. And then I would show them what it would look like depending on how much they wanted to spend. And we pretty much would go with that. So that gave me, like, I would do editing. I would do talk to talent about the way to like read, which was very like, I didn't realize I just thought you just like hand someone a script and they just started going. But there's like cadences and certain things that they wanted. And just like, again, just building content. Like I got like parameters for something, but I was able to go in and try to like make it my own in a way.
Yeah.
And like try to sell people on my ideas,
Is that the uniqueness of NBCUniversal in that they give people latitude and flexibility to do that? Or is it more you were proactive in doing that, and then they just kind of like, like we like Joey, let's give the kid a shot. Like, how did that, do you think it was the culture there or a combination of both?
Well, I think it was definitely a combination of both. But for that position, that was really like you're left to your own devices, but it was more of like that's kind of what it was. Like they just give you the idea, and then like you can't go crazy. Like you're not going to go into the parking lot, start like filming like all this, But it was like you have these certain things that you need to do, and you just kind of like have to build it.
Yeah.
So experiencing that was great for like my first like foray into TV. It was like, wow, this is. It invigorated me even more into like knowing there's even more I could do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's dope, man. So I remember hearing something first I remember when you broke into that, you were probably the busiest person that I knew.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what I mean? Like seriously, I mean, like no cap. Like you were super, super busy. And I know you like to hang out and things like that, but like you were gone often for a long time, and it was like random times when you were out. Was that just how your schedule was, or why were you working so much?
So in TV, so like I remember, so like having the NBC job, that first CNBC job, that probably lasted like, I'm not sure, like just under a year, I think it was. And then they kind of like got rid of, they bought the Weather Channel. So like we were like, it was like NBC Weather Plus was the name of their weather thing. So then they sold it, and then we pretty much just had to go find another job. So then I started working at Fox News. And Fox News was a very interesting place because obviously, depending on your political leanings, it's, you know, I'm not super liberal, but I'm like, I can't listen to this all day. So that was a little difficult. But I mean, I just remember the person who interviewed me for that job, and I ended up getting it after that interview, was he looked at me just straight up and was like, news is 24 hours. So like he was like straight, like he just looked at, but I respected it. But he was very honest. Like, you know, some people hire you, don't tell you. It's 24 hours. Yeah. You're going to work all the time if you want, but just expect, like, you're new, so you're going to be doing a lot of things other people don't want to do. So then, but in my mind, I'm just thinking, I'm not laying brick out here. Like, I'm working in TV. Like, I'm getting paid to watch TV, no matter what time of day it is. That's what I'm getting paid to do. So then I just remember like bombarded with shifts. Like I feel like there was a point where he was just trying to see what my limit would be. Like, he would just like offer me things, and I was just like, I honestly had no limit. Like, I just knew I wanted to. So the key in TV, which doesn't exist anymore, like, everyone is a freelancer now, but there used to be, and there still are, but very limited amount of staff jobs. So staff jobs you get, which I have now at NBC, but that's all I wanted to work towards. And in that same conversation, he was like, we have staff openings that will be coming down the line. But I only give that to people that I know I can work with and I can trust, and I know will do what it takes to get the job done. Yeah. So I remember just taking that in my mind. I'm just like, all right, just whatever you need. And then I would work 5 a.m., 2 a.m., overnights, constantly. Like, I remember that period that you were talking about, I was working 85 hours a week, probably like a year and a half straight. Like, it was just nonstop. Wow. Yeah. So I was like working like lawyer hours.
Yeah, I mean, maybe even more than that. So let's lean into that for a second. I mean, he explained to you then the benefits of these staff positions, because I do remember something like that, and you were like, "Yo, if you get that, then you're good."
Oh, it's cold, man.
Yeah, so it's just incredibly difficult. It's just difficult.
It's a certain amount. So, because that's the thing. So, like, if you're freelance, so this is something that, like, again, when I would be working those crazy hours, when I was dating who my wife is now, but back then she was my girlfriend. So we would like want to go on vacation when she got out of school. So if I wasn't working, I'm not getting paid. So I would work those double shifts to make up for the money I'm losing while I'm on vacation, you know? And that's what a lot of people do. They try to like, so the benefits of having the staff job is paid days, paid sick days, paid vacation. You get usually for, depending, I guess, where, but Comcast is amazing. Get a 401k where they match your contributions up to like 5 or 6%. There's just all these different things that are available to you if you're a staffer at NBC. So in my mind, it was just like, it was pretty much like the gold card. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're in and you're good.
Why do you think it, I mean, it sounds like, so first of all, the roles are rare, right? Yeah, so that's just on the strength of scarcity. Not everyone's going to be able to do it. So it's going to be more in demand. Why do you think, let's say somebody breaks into NBCUniversal, they're lucky enough to do it, and they get there and what have you. Why do you think, what's the most challenging thing about being able to get a staff job? And do you think is that what most people you would say want? Or is it just they say, nah, it's like too difficult?
No, I think that that's what everyone shoots for. Like, for me, when I got there, I had so just to backtrack a little, like in the middle of, after me leaving CNBC, like I worked at Fox News, but I was freelance. So I started like talking to a bunch of people who worked there. And then I met one guy who worked at MSG. I met another guy who worked at SNY that covers the Mets games. Met another guy who worked at Yes Network. So I'm not joking. That was another part of where I was working so much. I was working anywhere that would let me in. So I would walk in at, like, I'm not sure, 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. at night. I was just constantly working. And I also enjoyed the content that was like, the news part was like kind of wearing on me, but like being able to sit there and watch a Knicks game, like on the floor, or in the booth or in the truck, sitting there watching the Mets game. I'm a huge Mets fan. It was such a surreal thing to me that this was a job and I'm getting paid to sit here and cover this. So but the staff job obviously like started like seeping in more. And I just wanted to get my foot into all of these different places to see if I could like get a staff job. And I ended up, when I accepted the NBC job, I had 3 offers from other places because that's how much I was working and how much people like enjoyed the like how hard I worked. Yeah. So that was a huge part of it.
Well, So what would you say? And I respect that hustle, man, because I remember, like we're in our 20s, like, I get working hard, man, but like, you were like, there, you know what I mean? Like it seemed like there was no consistency. All I knew was that you were just working.
Yeah. And then I might pop out like like in between a shift or something.
Yeah. So, but no, I respect the hustle, man, because the reality is like, I mean, after all of the work that you did do to get in, then you get in, then you're working all of the shifts, but then you're also learning all of the different
skill sets and stuff.
Skill sets, which puts you in a position. I guess what I'm trying to understand is, grinding for such a long time can be difficult. It's one thing to grind for 3 years or 5, 7.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How have you been able to grind, and what has been one of the challenges of that as well? Because there's always a good side. We get the cash and but like, how have you been able to grind for so long, and what has been the sacrifices, some of the sacrifices you've had to make to do that?
Oh yeah. So honestly, the working hard it comes from my parents. Like I remember when I was a kid, my dad would work. He would easily like work 16, 18 hours a day. No problem. And he also didn't know any other way to be. So I just remember when I was a kid, I would see how hard he worked. And my mom, like oh my goodness, the amount of work that they put in was like, just watching it. Like when I would work, it's like watching how hard they worked to like give us what we had. And now I'm able to like walk in and it's not back-breaking work. Like my dad, he owned like corner stores and stuff, but it was a lot of work. It was a lot of like running around, making sure everything's intact. Where me, I walk in and I'm like, I have my set thing that I have to do that day. I'm in a beautiful building in this like mythical complex that everyone wants to go to during Christmas for some reason. So I just remember just feeling like I feel lucky and honored, honestly. Every time I'm walking outside and like walking into the building, I just see, like I'll see the Rockefeller Christmas tree when that's up. And I just sit there and think, I'm like, people fly around the world to come see this, and I get to see it every day. And this is me just going to work.
Yeah, because you work at 30 Rock, right?
Yeah. So I've been working over the past like 14 months, but that when I go back in, it will be. But no, like but that's the thing. I love what I do. Like I really enjoy working on TV. Obviously, there's times that are just going to annoy you, that annoy me, and just put me in, like, incenses me and just like ruins my day. But I truly love working on TV and creating something and seeing something come like out of the ashes and form for everyone to watch and take some information from,
You've kept that then, that has still remained from, even from high school, whatever, wanting that. So you've really you've found a career that has obviously challenged you and provided, a lifestyle you wanted and stuff, but also it's still feeding that passionate part. So you still, it sounds like you still feel like, you're fulfilled from it.
Oh yeah. It's like, I'm on it. Like I'm very lucky. Like there's people that we know that they have their job and they hate their job and they just do it because they have to like pay their bills. And like, I literally wake up when I have to wake up 2 a.m. or whatever. Yeah, it's not great sometimes, but then I'll like, all of a sudden the show starts and it kicks in. I'm like, this is amazing that I get to do this. This is crazy.
Yeah.
But a part of that, like loving to do it so much, it's really hard for me to say no to work sometimes. So then there are certain times where like I think I forgot someone on my family's birthday. Like they had a party and I said yes to a shift. And then it's like, oh man, I just wasn't even thinking. I'm just so used to saying yes. And then, so stuff like that, where I'm like, I'm just so used to working and looking at work like it's not work for me in a way. Mm-hmm. So that's honestly the only balance, where it's like, again, that's been implemented to me from my parents, where it's just like, if you can work, you work, so like, it's almost like my default in a way,
Yeah.
And I know not everyone has that, but it's,
Well, I think, both of our parents are we're first generation. Our parents are, from little islands. And so, it's not so much the working hard. I mean, like, I definitely think when you grow up with that example, you know what I mean? Then it helps. It makes things a little bit easier. Mm-hmm. But I think why I think it's so important for, maybe the 2 listeners that I will have, though, is to understand that even when somebody has, made it, has got broken in somewhere, that has learned the things that they need to do, you still hustle. You know what I mean? It doesn't stop. But it sounds like that you're in a position that you really like it. So what would you say to somebody, like, what would you say to your, to Joey, who was 21 or 22 or whatnot, coming out of school, and they want to work at NBC Universal doing whatever? Like what are some of the things that you would tell them to be mindful about?
I would say just maintaining, obviously when you want like the cliche work hard, all that stuff, that's a prereq. Like you should already have that walking into the door. So I would say a huge part, again, like the way we were explaining before, where it's such a huge umbrella, like you have no idea who you're going to run into or anywhere. Like, so like, people go on LinkedIn, or you might like go out for drinks or like meet someone socially. Like someone doesn't have to just give you a job right away. Like, and that's something that, not that I was bad at, but it was just like, I kind of just like knew what I wanted. And I kind of just chased that down, but it's just maintaining friendships and knowing, just having not necessarily like a network per se, but just not trying to look for things in everything. You know what I mean? Just trying to figure out what you want and just having the friendship. And then maybe like that happened with me with the Olympics. Like there's this kid that I met, like right when I first started working, and then we both kind of wanted the same thing. So I kind of looked at him like a rival in a way, which I was an idiot for doing that because we were doing two different things eventually. And he was the one that like gave me the heads up about the opening for the Olympics. And then it was like, oh my God. And then I ended up getting on, and it was just, and now we're mad cool, and it's great. So I would say networking and just maintaining your friendships is very important. Yeah. That's definitely something I wish I knew when I was younger.
Yeah. And what about, actually, I do like the one about like not thinking everyone's your rival just because maybe they're in a similar role and things like that. I think like we forget that stuff too. It's like, yeah, we may be wanting to go after similar things, but that doesn't mean it's the same thing.
Exactly. Yeah, right? Yeah. But even if it's like, you can like say you want one thing, and then there's so many, like especially when you're there's other things, like there could be like an internet show. There could be something else. Like if you're both in, there's enough for everybody. Like, it's not like you're in and then you're just gone. You know what I mean? So the competitive aspect does help, but it's just like, you have to work in this like cohesive, like beehive in a way where like, like obviously there's the mother, like the queen bee, but everyone has their position. Everyone has their job, and there's a lot of jobs that go around. So everyone just has to do their best job and do their thing.
So the question is why do you think what are some of the reasons why someone couldn't make staff?
I would honestly, the only thing, so there's like two main things. You're just, that in my book, like if I was the one hiring staff, you're unreliable, and you don't, you pretty much, when something goes wrong and it's your fault, you're not accountable. I did, like, especially working in a live atmosphere
it's live television. Yes, it's live television.
Yeah, it's like live. We do pre-tape stuff too. So it's like there's things you can plan nonstop. You cannot plan for the random person walking into the wrong spot, like that has no idea about TV. So it's that element of just, you have to be accountable. And if you know something's wrong and you can maybe get ahead of it, you're just going that extra mile, like knowing your craft. So if you know there's something that might be on camera that shouldn't be, you run over and do it. Even though you're doing camera, that's utility or stage manager's job. You're just all working together to like make the best possible thing happen.
What's the craziest thing that you like? What's the craziest thing you've seen live on air? And tell me a time where you messed up. It was your fault.
I've had a few of those. I had one where it was like it happened like a couple years ago, where there was this like at the end of every show, they do these like little boxes and they toss to the next show. So for some reason, I felt like I heard the director said, it's a wrap. In the middle of them like about to toss, I just pull the camera all the way out off the anchor and like pull the camera all the way down. So the anchor is like, you just hear his voice in the distance. And it was just mortifying. Like it was bad, like really bad. And like even the anchor said it on air. It was like awful. I had one where this was years ago, but I didn't know they were taping in the studio. It was like a pre-tape show. There's like in these sets that make it seem like there's no way in or out, there's like these sliding doors. So it looked like a set piece. So I didn't know they were shooting. I thought it was like a dead set. I open it and I open the door, close the door, and I'm kind of just like leaning against the wall, and I'm right behind this anchor shot. And I'm just standing there for like 10 seconds. And everyone's like yelling at me, like throwing stuff at me. It was crazy. But I remember like laughing about it. And then, but again, like being accountable. Went to the director after they finished shooting. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. And it's like, because there are people who will hide and act like nothing went wrong. And that's the people that you don't like to work with, you know?
Yep. What is like one of the more memorable, positive experiences you've had? Maybe it was just something amazing. Maybe it was at the Olympics, or you met somebody, or just one of the crazier experiences in live TV.
There's a ton.
TV, or just in TV, one of your experiences. I mean, there's probably so many.
Yeah, I mean, there was one time where I was actually telling this story last week where I walked in, like I got in early. I was like, something was like driving me crazy I don't even remember what, but I was just like in a really bad mood. Walk into the green room, Shaquille O'Neal sitting in the green room. And I'm just like, and like, I kind of just walked by and I was just like, I gave him a thing. He was just like, and he could almost like, he knew there was something wrong with me. So then I felt like he like started like cracking jokes. And I was just like, I'm just standing in this green room, Shaquille O'Neal's cracking jokes. And I'm just like, this can't be my life. Like, this is insane. Very nice guy as well, Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, does he have that energy that everyone talks about? Like, obviously physically his presence, but is he like this gentle giant people say, or just funny and like, or is he kind of?
Yeah, calm? I wouldn't say he's gentle. Like, I feel like I think he broke the couch in the green room. but no, I'm just playing. I don't think he broke it. But it was just like, he's just so imposing. Like I remember when he's like, because he was sitting, and I feel like even him sitting, he was taller than I was. And then he stood up, and it was just like this. Yeah. Wow. Like that must be all I can think is like, it must be so hard for you to get around in New York City. Like, it's just got to be so annoying.
Dude, it's funny. I saw I saw a little bit of the, what was it? It's the guy who Hulk Hogan flipped. It was the guy who was in,
Andre the Giant.
Andre the Giant. I saw some of his, that, like, their lives, man. Their lives, he's just huge. Just going through life, man. And I just can only imagine, though, like, you probably get a lot of wow moments, whether it's seeing Shaq or seeing something on air or dealing with something. Very cool, man. Well, listen, I know we're kind of wrapping up soon. So, conversation was so dope, man. I hope you actually come back. Basically, what I want to transition to, this is a quick one. So this is the power questions. 5 questions designed to give us some insight into your background, and just don't think about them too much. Answer, just kind of continue to be super transparent. Ready?
Go for it. Yeah.
All right, cool. Number 1. How many hours of sleep do you get?
That honestly depends on the week, but usually I like shoot for like 6 to 7.
Okay.
That's usually, but there's times where like honestly I'll sleep like 10 hours if I have the time on the other side. So yeah, but like usually 6 to 7.
What's your diet looking like?
Diet's looking pretty good. I've been doing a lot of grilled chicken, a lot of like plant-based protein that I've been really enjoying.
And tofu?
Yeah, what was that?
Tofu?
No, tofu. Christian makes like an awesome like peanut sauce like tofu that's amazing. It's like in the wok. It's really good. But honestly, this is like some of the best eating I think I've done in a really long time. Diet is optimal. Diet and sleeping are key to having that longevity.
Yes, sir. What's your favorite activity to like unwind?
If I can, it's not readily available during current time. Basketball, hands down. Basketball, and if I can, I haven't been able to do it in a while, but boxing is like really, it's a great way to get frustration out.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And boxing's tough too. People don't realize it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, just do 3 minutes. Like people who like getting into it. Like I always say, like, all right, do 3 minutes where I know they won't even get like 60 seconds in, like just beating the heavy bag. Yeah.
Dude, tell somebody. I say, put your hands up like this for 3 minutes.
That's a great one too.
Just put your hands up. Don't do anything. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
This is going to sound dark, but probably mind control.
That's not dark.
I don't know.
Mine is dark. Mine is dark. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's the problem.
All right, and last one, what are you reading or listening to?
There is this book that my friend put me on. It's called Sapiens, but I haven't been reading because it's like a 1,000-page book, but I've been listening to it on my...
Dude, it's right here, dude.
Wow, look at that.
I literally just read it last month.
It's an incredible book, no?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love it. I mean, it's like an adult history lesson.
Exactly. And it gives you like that insight, like it just simplifies all these like little things that you don't even realize are a part of our lives that are just honestly these like not figments of imagination, but these constructs that we just kind of just take for granted. We don't even realize. And it's just like, this is nonsense, you know?
Yeah. Like when I found out that it's like Christianity, when it first started out, was a small sect. It wasn't even the more powerful. It just happens to be this niche version
Yeah.
And it took over the world. I was like, okay.
It starts with an idea, Marty. It always starts with an idea.
Very cool, man. Well, listen, bro, Joey, man, thanks for stopping by. This information was super helpful. If somebody, right, just happens to wants to ask you some questions or reach you or learn a little bit more about what you do, what would be the best way for them to contact you? Is that through LinkedIn? Is that email? Yeah,
LinkedIn. You can send me anything on LinkedIn. I mean, if you I guess you can send my email out if it helps, like people if you get a little more direct line. But anyone who wants to reach out and ask any questions, I'd love to help and answer anything that they have on their mind.
Very cool, man. Well, thank you for the time, man. Really appreciate it, buddy.
Of course, man. Anytime. Happy to be here.